What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, host of Set Point here on OATIIZ Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And we have another Set Point Extra Point segment as we have two guests here for the price of one. And we all know who this coach is. He is a man who needs no introduction. He's obviously connected with me in the past, and he's just an all around great guy. We have Alan Knipe, head coach of Long Beach State men's volleyball, and we have the Clarke Godbold, standout for Long Beach State men's volleyball. Both of you, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Teran. Thanks for having us.
Doing awesome. Thank you for having me, Teran.
Of course. So without any further delay, let us begin. But just in case the feds are watching, these are the thoughts and opinions of myself, Teran Rodriguez, Clarke Godbold, and Alan Knipe, and are not the thoughts of any fourth or fifth party organizations. All right, now let's begin. So last week you took down UC Santa Barbara. It was the beginning of conference play. What was that feel like starting off conference play and finally dipping the toe and foot in?
Yeah, we divide up our season into kind of four parts. We have our fall, and then we have our non-conference, which is more of a national non-conference, and then even international, right? We play some Canadian teams and even go up there. And then we'll have our regional non-conference, play some of the local teams from the MPSF, and then we get into conference. So there's definitely three different in the spring, three different pieces to this. And as we get into the conference, you have to get ready for a couple of things. Obviously, the Big West Conference is a very strong conference, and you have a Friday, Saturday night back-to-back matchup every night. That one at our gym, one at their gym. So you have some travel right after a tough match on a Friday night, and then you have to deal with that, and then you have to deal with the adjustments that will be made by teams that have a better feel for each other the second night than they did the first. So all that being said, I think we have a nice preparation of how we go about our business all the way from the fall into the regular season, preparing for these nights and these conference matches, and it was good to get out of the gates and get started.
And you have anything to add to that, Clarke?
Yeah, playing conferences is definitely super fun. Obviously the non-conference games, we play against some different teams. Sometimes you only play against them once in your career, but when you're in conference, you see those teams, twice a year, and then in the conference tournament. So it's always fun and to get around and play those guys twice a year.
Now, obviously, wrapping up last week, you both took down, or the Long Beach State took down UC Santa Barbara in 5 sets on Saturday and 4 sets on Friday. What can you say about facing Santa Barbara, and what were some big takeaways from that matchup from the both of you?
Yeah, I think that you can learn a lot from wins, not just losses, as I always try to say. And there was a lot of things that we did well at times, and there was some things both nights that I know that we could be cleaner at and do a better job, put ourselves in a situation of going a lot longer on Saturday night than needed. I thought we could have maybe closed out the second set, certainly with a lot better execution and composure late in that second set. But regardless, you get yourself in that situation, you have to get yourself out of it. And I thought that our guys showed a ton of grit and a lot of good volleyball and a lot of good composure and execution really late in the fourth set and all the way through the fifth set to get a good win. And they all count the same, so you rack it up and you move on to the next week. And we had a great first day of training, and you're doing some of our mindset work for the week, and look forward to getting better this week.
Anything to add, Clarke?
Yeah, coach said it was gritty. It for sure was. It doesn't always feel comfortable when you play against some teams, but we talk about being comfortable in the uncomfortable, and we definitely were after that little lapse in the second set, and it was a gritty win, and it was fun to do it with the guys.
Now, this week is a big week as it is Hawaii week. Alan, I don't know about you, Clarke, but I know, Alan, you're not a big rankings guy, but it's number 1 team versus number 2 team. What's the hype when it comes to that matchup, and how special and big is this matchup against Hawaii?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a rankings guy. Not that it's, those things are important for a lot of people, but in schools and marketing and recruiting and all those different things. But it's definitely not. Sorry about that. It's definitely not something we ever discussed. So putting that aside, I think that both these programs play a very good brand of volleyball. They both there's a lot of talent on the teams. They play an international style of volleyball, and both play in amazing environments. They're used to that environment, and we've certainly played a lot of fun matches. In postseason and regular season, and it's not going to shock me if it's similar to that again this weekend. That's what we're preparing for.
And Clarke?
Yeah, it's an exciting week. Coach talks about how, like, when you grow up, you dream of playing in front of thousands of people and not just in a little gym in front of 10 people. So it's gonna be one of those weeks where we know there's gonna be a lot of fans and a lot of support from our community. And we've always had some good games against them in the past, and we're excited to do it again this week.
Now, as I mentioned, this is number one versus number two. If you met a volleyball fan who maybe is just wanting to see a big time volleyball match or is looking for an NCAA men's volleyball match to watch this week, what would you tell that said volleyball fan, and like describe it in your words when it comes to this rivalry? Yeah.
Well, I think that what I would say is get to one of these matchups and get as close as you can to the floor and see these incredible athletes, not just volleyball player athletes, big, strong, physical athletes flying around the court on both sides of the net, making it look very, very easy by how much work that they've put in and perfected on their craft. But getting close to it and hearing the swings, the power, and seeing the blocks and the velocity on serves and the quick reaction time that it takes to play this sport is it doesn't a lot of time do it just to watch it online or watch it, on TV. So get out and watch the match in person, live it, feel it. Most of the time, people that get to experience that tend to be hooked and come back a lot more in the future. So we have an unbelievable fan base here. We got a lot of people who support us, but we always want more. So if you haven't seen one, you want to come out, sure. I think you'll fall in love with it.
I know when I was just starting volleyball, I made it a note to always get to as many games as possible. And I went to a fair share of Hawaii Long Beach games, and the atmosphere is awesome. Being there when I was younger, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then playing in it is just a completely different experience because of our fan base is and the culture surrounding our team. So I would just push anyone and everyone to come to the game and support us and get as close to the court as possible, like you said.
Now, Alan, obviously you moved Clarke from the right side to the left side. If I'm wrong about that, just correct me. What was that decision like? And Clarke, how have you been able to adapt to playing on the left side?
Well, Clarke is not necessarily an opposite. Clarke's a pin hitter. He can play either spot. I think that we'll find out what he says, but I think that he would tell you that he likes the left better. But just the makeup of our team over the last couple of years, to put the most talented team on the floor, we needed him on the right, and he was so unselfish about that and did a tremendous job for us there, All-American over there for us. But the makeup of our team this year is different. It allows Clarke to go more into his natural position. It's great for him this year. It's great for our team to have him on the left in our 0-1 spot. He's been absolutely lights out all year. And it also allows Skylar Varga to enter in on the right. And we also, Daniil and Nato are doing a great job too in our gym. But and it just gives us a different look. It allows us to do some different things in serve receive. It allows us. It's just for this group, it seems like it's a better balance. And I think for Clarke's long future in volleyball, which he will have, I think moving back to the left will highlight a lot of the things that maybe people haven't seen as much from him, like his Area 6 defense and his ability to hit the pick and block on the left. Everyone knows he can block on the right. I think it's going to be very good for him in the national team gym, and I think it's going to be very good for him in his pro career too, that you could play him in either spot, but I would imagine he's going to push for those guys to keep him on the left.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing when I started. I grew up playing on the left, and then, naturally being in the 0-1 position, you have to hit on the right as well. So I kind of learned to hit on the right and be an opposite. And coming back to the left, I mean, it's great for our gym and certain rows. We do certain things in serve receive, like you said, and yeah, it's been fun, and I definitely enjoy hitting on the left. I love hitting the pick. It was always my favorite hit growing up. For whatever reason, it just always has been my favorite, and just continue to do that. And Skylar's been great on the right. We used to have some conversations at the beginning of the year of like, how do you hit this shot, or what's the thought on this shot? And he's taken that to a different level, especially recently. He's been a complete baller, and he hits some shots that I can't even dream of hitting. So it's been fun to see him do that, and then try to continue to do what I can do on the left, and help our team out that way.
Now, you both mentioned Skylar Varga. He's kind of been the third head of the three-headed monster in terms of the pins. Both of you, talk to me about how Skylar has stepped up and taken so much pressure off of Clarke and Sotir Shapani's.
Yeah, well, he's long and lanky. He jumps well, has a great arm, and has great range, and that really helps your offense out, because a lot of times when you fire the ball overhead, it's easy in system maybe for anyone, but when you get out of system where you want to be able to throw it back there sometimes and have someone clean you up, he makes that look really, really easy, with his range and his size and his shot selection. And he's also like Clarke was, he is a natural left. So he helps us out so much, because he helps us in row one where a lot of teams struggle with their opposite. He definitely doesn't struggle. He can pass like an outside. So he's been great. Him and Nathan Harlan, we're very, very lucky to have both of those guys. Not only that they're so dynamic in what they do, but there's so many different roles they can play for us. So Sky would have had a really big impact also on last year's team. Unfortunately, he got hurt in January and missed the entire season. So I think people are just now starting to figure out, why I was speaking about him so positively last year, early in the season. But we're glad he's healthy, and we're certainly glad he's on our side of the net.
Yeah, Sky, not being like a true opposite is definitely, I think it's the best characteristic about him, because he makes it work. And he's got a lot of shots, and I think one of his best ones are all dug in on defense on the D ball or on the red, and he goes up and he just hits it into the campfire in the middle of the court, and it's pretty impossible to stop, especially at the height that he hits it at. But Coach talked about all of his, lanky and jumps high, but he's also just a great teammate, and it's fun to be on the court with him. He's always smiling. He always has your back. So definitely love playing with Sky.
And then there are two other hitters that I should make note of: Simon Torwee, the middle blocker, and then Nathan Harlan, Alan just mentioned. Talk to me about how those two make a tremendous impact and how they also help the offense continue to flow.
Yeah, I'm just so proud of Simon. It's not easy to make the transition from an opposite to a middle, not just from the physical standpoint of, the amount of work that goes into it, but the ability to not have an ego about it. It was good for our team. I honestly think it's going to be incredibly beneficial to his long-time career that he will have, because you get judged on three main characteristics when you're a middle blocker. You got to be able to kill the ball, block the ball, and if you can serve the ball, that's the third. A lot of times middles tend to be more of a 2.5 skill guy, not really helping you score points from the end line too much. And having his size, he's only going to get better as he continues to figure things out in the middle, both blocking and offensively. But the ability to go behind the end line and hit his serve like an opposite is going to make him a very desirable draft pick when he becomes available after this year. And I've talked about Nathan before. There's really nothing Nathan can't do on the court. And every season that he's played for us, has his thumbprint all over some really important matches for us, and he's done that already this year for us. And whether he can come in on the right, he can come in on the left, he can come in as a serving sub, he can come in as a serving sub and set the offense. You know, he's really important for us, and he's got a great jump. He can pass the ball. He's got a great arm. He's got a great knack for defense, and then he's got a really good ability. He's really opened up his toolbox when it comes to his range, not only being big ball, but mixing up his shots and his tips and roll shots, cut shots, you name it. Yeah, he's having a very, very good year for us.
Yeah, Simon, I mean, changing positions is tough when you're going just from like the left to the right, but he went to a whole new position of being a middle and having to learn how to split and how to do different things like that. And I mean, he's got to be one of the best blockers I've ever played with. He is probably the best blocker I've ever played with. And then playing against him in practice, I feel for the guys on the other teams that he has to play against, because it is not easy to get the ball by him. And Coach talked about his serve, and you can count the times that he's saved us, or had a big match serving and really helped us out from the inline. And also his court presence. I mean, he's same thing with Sky. He's just a fun guy to play with and a fun guy to be around. And after a big block, he somehow picks like 4 of us up and puts us down, and just a fun guy to be around. And Nate, I've played against him in our gym for a fair amount of time, just being on the right, and he was on the other side, and he's a tough guy to stop, and he's got a huge quiver and a ton of range, but also just his ability to just come into the game and serve or dig a ball or set one of us a shoot or whatever it is. And it's one of the best all-around volleyball players that I've ever seen. And I'd love to play at beach with him sometime, because he can do it all, and he's also just a fun guy to be around and to have on the team.
Teran Rodriguez here of Set Point on OATIIZ Sports Radio with Alan Knipe, head coach of Long Beach State men's volleyball, and Clarke Godbold, player on Long Beach State men's volleyball. All right, you two, what have you two learned the most from one another, and what have been some of your favorite memories with each other?
Well, coaching Clarke is fun because he's totally committed to being exceptional in everything he does. He's a tremendous student. He's a great teammate. He's totally committed to our program. He'll play whatever position we ask him to do. He'll do any of that stuff. So as a head coach, and that you're dealing with these formative years of someone's volleyball career, you're just trying to make sure that as you put some things in place, or you try to get him to change some things or improve some things or challenge him, that you're balancing that with the idea that you also think, that you have a ton of confidence in him, and you want him to know that, you want him to believe that. And so learning about Clarke and learning about his personality is always something I pride myself on, getting to know our guys and try to make sure that I get a connection with each guy. And it's been great. Clarke and I, from my standpoint, Clarke and I have had a great relationship through great moments, and been able to work through and talk through moments that maybe we wish the outcome had been different, or maybe the way we had played or things we had done is different. We wished it had been different, but it all starts with really good communication. And we tried to have that really with him, like we do with all our guys through the recruiting process, and then try to continue that when they're here. And we tell them it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be rosy, and we're going to have to work through it. And to watch where Clarke has come from, he was, don't take me wrong, he was very, very talented when he got here as a freshman. But there's a big difference in volleyball players and young men from 18 to 22, 23 years old. And to watch him grow and mature, and most importantly, commit even more to his craft, while at the same time building trust with his head coach and his coaching staff, not just me, has formed the relationship we have now. And I think I'm very confident in what we're going to see in Clarke when he plays for us. And it's been an absolute pleasure to coach him.
Yeah, the number one reason I really chose Long Beach was just, you visit all the gyms in your junior year, and just like the culture that Alan and the rest of the coaches have just like instilled in Long Beach, and just in like the guys. And my favorite moment was I was in some other gyms and like some balls drop, and it's just like, it's no biggie. And then my favorite moment was I was with my parents and somebody shanked a ball and Josh goes running and runs into the trash can and tries to get it back up. And, I didn't see that in any other gyms. And all the guys are clapping, cheering, and then they get right back on the court and it's just a grind again. And I never saw that from any other gym that I had visited. Just like that constant grittiness, wanting to get better. And that's the thing that drew me towards them for sure. And I know that Alan has my best intentions and wants the best for me. And he's constantly, we have that kind of communication where he's constantly talking to me. And sometimes I get a little down. He's always, looking at me and he's making sure that I'm good. And I always appreciate that. And he's given me a lot of helpful tips, a lot of helpful tricks. And he sees something. He's been around volleyball for a long time. No offense, coach. He's been around volleyball for a long time. And he's seen a lot of things. So, he sees something with the serve or blocking or hitting. And it's just like that. It's like, well, and he comes over and tells you, and then 2 minutes later you're doing it. And then, you get a lot better at it right away, immediately. And, I love that. And the rest of McKay and Nick, and, they're awesome too. They have the best intentions, and we go in for film to their offices and we watch. And but that's just what drew me towards Long Beach is for sure the coaches and the culture that Alan's created.
Awesome responses, you two. All right, a couple more questions and then I'll let you two go. So obviously, I don't want to look too far down the rabbit hole, but Long Beach State is hosting the NCAA tournament. How big is this for Long Beach State, and what is that like for you both individually and maybe like the team?
Yeah, it's kind of like a ranking thing, to be honest with you, Teran. It's great. It's great for a lot of people. It's great for the community. It's great for the athletic department. And ultimately, if you take care of business, it's great for you. But there's no way we're in the second week of conference, and we're going to be totally tunnel vision on that. And we'll go week by week and put ourselves in a situation, when that situation comes. And if we do our job and we put ourselves in that situation, then we can sit back and be happy about that then. But right now, none of that stuff's really that important to me. But I will say, I am very thankful to the community and very thankful to the athletic department, for their willingness to continue to put in bids and host these tournaments. It's really special. But as far as thinking about it other than that, we're going to stay in just this week.
Yeah, I mean, we're focused on Hawaii this week. We're definitely thankful to be able to have it at our house, but Hawaii is our main focus, and honestly, tomorrow and getting better is our main focus.
Excellent response. Now, last question, and then I'll let you two go. Obviously, I asked this to Mason Briggs and to Aiden Knipe. How can all of us that are volleyball fans or volleyball connoisseurs or enthusiasts help grow the game of NCAA men's volleyball and make it well known to everybody?
Wow. Well, I think we all have different roles in that, and it's changing so much in this day and age of social media, right? We have such a far reach, and many people have a far reach now that never had that before. So, but I would break it down like this. The number one thing is for you guys, for us as coaches, is to greatly respect the game and train the game and put our players in the best situation possible to play at the highest level. So we're very proud of the game that we play and what people see when they come, how people interact with our guys and get to know our guys, how our guys do in school. That's a really important thing for the coach's standpoint. For someone like yourself, obviously you're doing that. I mean, you're at games, you're writing about games, you're hosting a podcast, you're doing everything you can. And then for the guys, they kind of fall into that category a little bit more of like the coaches. The number one thing they can do is just stay focused on being the best volleyball player they can be, and get better. But in this, social media has given them the opportunity to interact with fans and interact with, now NIL stuff and interact on podcasts and get people in this country and abroad to get to know them, to know their brand, to know their name and their story, and continue to grow. The men's volleyball game is a tremendous college sport. It's played at the very highest level that you can play this sport. And but unfortunately, there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't get as much attention as maybe some other sports. And I think any way possible that we can get people to see our game, whether it be online or on TV or in person, get to experience it, is good. So we want to continue to push that, because I think most people you talk to that maybe didn't grow up playing the game got introduced to the game by someone who brought them to a game, or they watched a game, or they saw the Big West championship game or the NCAA championship game, and started to really realize that, hey, this volleyball stuff doesn't look like the company picnic that I play, down on the beach on the weekends with my friends. This is pretty difficult, and these guys are super talented. But the exposure over the history of the time that I've been in the sport it hasn't been very good. It was a very much, you played volleyball because somehow you got into it, or a lot of people played because their parents played, and there just wasn't a whole lot of attention drawn to it. But those days are changing, and I think you're seeing that as the grassroots numbers are just blowing up, and you got full states adding boys volleyball as a high school sport, and you're seeing clubs numbers just growing and growing and growing. These are all good things. So keep up the good work. Keep getting people to come out and watch, getting the highlights out after games on as many different platforms as possible, getting guests on your show, and is the way for us to do this. Hopefully some other people who have maybe a bigger platform will take it serious and really jump in at some point too. But it is growing, and I'm very proud to see that change over the course of my career.
You talked about exposure. I started volleyball because I went to the AVP Manhattan Beach tournament, and I watched, I think it was Phil just like Kong block somebody or swat somebody, and that's not what my thought of volleyball was. I thought it was a girls' sport or something that guys didn't play. Like I had played football and basketball, but the second I saw it, I loved it because I was exposed to it. So I think just continuing with the exposure and the social media, like Coach talked about, has obviously grown a ton recently. And then just the new, more boys high school teams and more club teams, and we'll grow into the more men's college teams so that we can continue to have a lot of D1 teams. Because when I first started, there wasn't a ton, and I feel like it has grown a lot, especially East Coast or Midwest. There's been an abundance of teams that have popped up, which is awesome.
Listen, I appreciate the both of you taking time out of your busy schedules. Always great to connect with you two. Remember, this week, Hawaii versus Long Beach State at the Pyramid, 7 p.m. Pacific time on Friday and on Saturday. He's Alan. He's Clarke. I'm Teran Rodriguez, and this is Set Point Extra Points. I will see you on the other side.